Hello, listeners. Welcome to KORC's News, Music, and Civics Show, and welcome to the Corvallis Civics Cafe. What happened in city meetings last week? What might happen next? I'm Wendy Byrne, your host here at the cafe, where the menu includes reviews of recent city meetings and previews of upcoming meetings. I keep track of city leadership, of their recent discussions, and their goals for the city. Additionally, I follow the meetings of the advisory groups that help inform the City Council. Some items can get a little spicy, and some weeks there is dessert at the end of the show. Let's dig in. Last week, there were no meetings of the City Council, but topics of interest were discussed at advisory group meetings. Advisory groups make policy-related recommendations to the Council. I don't have the time to follow each meeting of the various groups, but I keep an eye on their agendas, and this week there are some items worth sharing. On Monday, January 12th, there was a Safe Streets for All task force meeting. This task force is made up of community members, city staff, and a team of outside consultants. They are developing an holistic approach to reducing the risk of fatalities and serious injuries to users of our roads. In March, the task force is due to present a special report called a Transportation Safety Action Plan to the City Council. The task force first met in January of 2025, and since then has had 5 meetings. As a member of the task force, I expected us to be meeting monthly. I have come to realize it takes time for city staff and the consultants to collect and analyze the data that has helped us understand both the safety problems on our roads and the solutions. In the end, the work from this group should improve safety for all users on our local roads. Having a transportation safety action plan will help the city obtain grants to fund some of the recommended safety projects. On Tuesday, January 13th, there was a meeting of the Economy Subcommittee of the Downtown Vitality Strategy Task Force. While their agenda listed 3 different items, nearly 75 of the 90 minutes in the meeting involved discussion about economic development efforts in our downtown with their guests, City Economic Development Manager Christopher Jacobs and Community Development Director Paul Bellotta. If you have been following civic meetings recently, you know that the hot topic for different advisory groups, including this one, is the creation of an urban renewal district in downtown and the use of tax increment financing to pay for whatever projects are identified for the district. Historically speaking, voters in Corvallis have rejected urban renewal for downtown, but approved it for Southtown. This menu item will return to our plates repeatedly in the coming months. For example, during the upcoming City Council work session on January 22nd, there is an agenda item titled Downtown Tax Increment Financing Implementation Schedule.
We're trying to prime that pump a little bit next week on a work session. Yeah, we are taking that question to the council and kind of outlining all the steps there and trying to see if we can get moving forward.
If you are interested in following the money, it is useful to catch conversations like these when they occur at the advisory group level, before they trickle up to the City Council. Also on January 13th, the Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Advisory Board meeting was canceled due to a lack of quorum. There are 9 members of the board, so they must have 5 members present to meet quorum and hold their meeting. Given that we are neck-deep in the 2026 flu season, there have been several recent city-related meetings that have struggled to hit their targeted attendance for quorum. On Wednesday the 14th, Phase 2 of the Charter Review Task Force met. 2026 and 2027 are going to be significant years for the Corvallis City Charter. The charter has been updated in bits and pieces over time, most recently 7 years ago, but current city leadership has determined it is time for a major overhaul, and we the people can anticipate charter-related ballot measures in the fall of 2026, and possibly also in the spring and fall of 2027. Phase 1 of the Charter Review Task Force has essentially wrapped up their work, which will be discussed in detail during the City Council business meeting on Tuesday, January 20th. After discussion on Wednesday, this Phase 2 of the Charter Review Task Force has decided they will take on making recommendations to the section titled Form of Government. This means discussion of hot topics, such as adding term limits for the City Council and Mayor, changing the lengths of City Council terms from 2 to 4 years, potentially changing the role of the Mayor, and more. They tasked the City Attorney to bring them a report on the forms of government from comparator cities, and the Mayor asked for a report as to why the City of Corvallis is the only city in the entire state of Oregon with 2-year terms for City Council. The task force will make recommendations for updated charter language, which will go to the City Council for discussion. The decisions of the City Council are then forwarded as ballot measures to Corvallis voters, because our charter cannot change without our vote, our voice. The members of the task force seem daunted yet excited at the prospect of these changes to the city charter. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. 2026 is going to be an interesting year for civics in Corvallis. Regarding upcoming city meetings, it's good to be aware that all city offices will be closed on Monday, January 19th, in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Because of the Monday holiday, the City Council business meeting will be on Tuesday the 20th. The meeting will be preceded by an executive session, which is not open to the public. Otherwise, visitors are welcome during City Council meetings. The agenda, the meeting materials, and the participation instructions can be found approximately 5 days before each city meeting by looking at the city website at corvallisoregon.gov/calendar. Once there, you can find each meeting listed by date, and a click on the hyperlink will take you to more detailed information. Pro tip: if you click on the link titled Packet, you will also see a copy of the meeting agenda, since it is always included as the title page of the electronic packet. If you have a document reader installed on your device, downloading the packet and reading it can be easier than trying to skim through it on your mobile phone. However, nearly any device will do. Additional pro tip: you do not need to read the entire contents of the electronic packet to understand the general topics of discussion, and a review of the agenda for the City Council meeting can let you know if topics important to you are being discussed. If you see something important, you can dig in deeper by looking through all of the content of the electronic packet. When I review the City Council agenda for Tuesday, January 20th, I see the various items they will discuss, such as the public hearing on how to guide the city's use of federal funds from the Community Development Block Grant this year. Discussions like these have direct impacts on local affordable housing, so if that is important to you, plan to catch this meeting live or put a pin in it and watch the recording when it is available. Later in the meeting, the Council will discuss the final recommendations of Phase 1 of the Charter Review Task Force. A look at the electronic packet for the January 22nd City Council work session reveals the agenda topics of the budget gap and tax increment financing implementation for downtown.
A feasibility study is not statutorily required to establish a TIP district. A plan and report are statutorily required.
Deeper in the packet, there is a staff memo about the budget gap, which refers to the fact that the city has hired an outside consultant called Eco Northwest to help understand, quote, how Corvallis compares to other cities in terms of fiscal pressures. The results of that analysis are intended to help point the city towards next step conversations for determining how to address the budget gap, unquote. I still fully expect that we, the people, are going to be asked to undertake more than $2 million in debt. Whoa, did I say $2 million? It's going to be more than $200 million to finance a new office building, and I wonder how they think we can afford to do that. So, I'm not going to miss this conversation. For those folks who are following the ongoing conversation about tax increment financing to pay for projects downtown, here is an excerpt from the community comment section for the work session, from a letter written by Julie Manning and Steve Clark. Quote, we write today as the co-chairs of the Downtown Vitality Strategy Task Force to report that on January 6th, the task force's executive committee voted unanimously to ask the City Council to direct city staff to place on the November 3, 2026 general election ballot a measure creating a tax increment finance district for downtown Corvallis." Unquote. See, I told you 2026 is going to be an interesting year. We have reached the dessert menu, where I highlight civics-related items I do not want lost in the shuffle. This week, I want to revisit an item that caught my attention during the City Council meeting on January 5th, when the mayor called for the City Council to elect new leadership. Can the mayor call for a change in council leadership at any time? On January 5th, he qualified his decision by stating that it would give opportunity for new voices to be heard. However, in the past, changes in City Council leadership have come about for more explainable reasons, such as the resignation of either the council president or vice president. Apparently, I am not the only person who balked at the election of a new City Council president and vice president that was not preceded by the resignation of those leaders. The following is an excerpt from a letter to the editor in the January 17th edition of the Gazette-Times. Quote, "The mayor tries to compare 2026 to 2024. True, a council president and vice president election was held in 2024. This was because Councillor Yee resigned as president, and, importantly, because Councillor Lytle only agreed to a one-year term when she was elected. The mayor writes that the city attorney gave him permission to call new elections as often as he would like. Was the attorney shown the ballots of the 2025 to 2026 elections? And was the attorney aware that the mayor was planning to call midterm elections?" Unquote. The full text of the letter can be found in the Gazette-Times. Earlier in the letter, the writer points out that our charter directs that the council shall hold leadership elections on odd-numbered years. As noted on January 5th, the mayor defended his decision by stating that he discussed this issue with the city attorney and was told that his interpretation of the city charter was correct. In a memo dated January 12th, and included in the electronic packet for the upcoming city council meeting, the mayor repeats his defense, but shares no documentation directly from the city attorney. I took another look at the city charter, and now I'm even more curious to hear from the city attorney, because Section 20 of the city charter regarding the president of the city council says nothing about the mayor calling the elections. It says, quote, "The council, by ballot, shall elect a president and vice president from its membership," unquote, leaving no mention of the mayor calling the election. It appears to me that the council holds the election. Section 19 of the city charter, which is the section that defines the role of the mayor, states, quote, "The mayor shall have authority to preserve order, enforce the rules of the council, and determine the order of business under the rules of the council," unquote. So yes, I'd love to hear about this directly from the city attorney, but it is not up to me to ask the city attorney to comment, and if no members of the council are asking, it is not likely to happen. Perhaps this item from the city charter should be addressed during our charter amendment process that is underway, or it could be addressed by the newly elected City Council President and Vice President, both of whom have promised to hold the City Council accountable for good governance. Thank you for joining me at the Corvallis Civics Cafe. If you like what you hear during this program, consider sharing it with others. Share that KORC 105.9 FM has a weekly news program on the radio with interesting coverage of local newsworthy items. Share that the Corvallis Civics Cafe is available as a podcast on podbean.com and on Apple Podcasts. Even better, chase down the information I share about the city website, watch some of the meeting recordings, and discuss things with your family, your friends, and your neighbors. Remember, this is an election year, and it is our civic responsibility to be informed and to vote. If you have feedback to share, please send me an email at wendy@korcfm.com. To reach KORC's News, Music, and Civics, the email is news@korcfm.com. Until next time, this is Wendy Byrne.
Yes. So is there a chance, did I hear in your preamble that the city might try to take away the vote on urban renewal?
They have put forward the issue about the vote on urban renewal. The council set a priority that was a little bit too controversial, so that falls into 2027 or beyond.